An entire village looked death in the eye and volunteered for it. In the next few minutes, I'll show you the most selfless and most horrifying decision a community has ever made: to lock themselves inside with a plague and die so that strangers they'd never meet could live. Stay to the end, and I'll show you the graves that prove one woman did the unthinkable in a single week. If stories about ordinary people doing impossible things are why you're here, then you already belong. Light a candle with me. In the summer of 1665, London was a city of screams. The Great Plague was tearing through its narrow streets, claiming thousands of lives every week. The rich fled to the country, while the poor were locked in their homes. It was from this epicenter of death that a small parcel was sent north. The parcel arrived in Eyam for the village tailor, Alexander Hadfield. Inside was cloth intended for the local gentry, but it held a hidden passenger. George Vickers, the tailor's assistant, opened the bundle. Finding the cloth damp from its journey, he hung it by the hearth to dry. The heat of the fire awakened the dormant fleas hidden in the fibers. They were the vectors, the tiny, indifferent executioners of a village. Within days, George Vickers was dead. His skin had turned black, his body racked by the buboes of the bubonic plague. The tailor's family soon followed. Panic began to stir as the death toll climbed. The mundane arrival of a parcel from the city had turned their peaceful home into a house of death. In 1665, they didn't understand germs. They believed the plague was caused by miasma, foul air, or as a punishment from God. They carried posies of herbs to sweeten the air and smoked tobacco to ward off the vapours, but nothing could stop the spread. Eyam was under siege. As villagers began to die, the young rector William Mompesson and the previous minister Thomas Stanley made a proposal: seal the village. Mompesson and Stanley, though once rivals, united to lead their people through the unthinkable. They knew the danger Eyam posed to the region. No one leaves, no one enters, containing the plague inside their own homes rather than letting it spread across the north of England. The quarantine was not a law, but a promise. A pact made in the shadow of the church, signed in the blood of the community. It was a pact of death. Families agreed to stay, knowing they were signing their own warrants to save strangers they would never meet. Now, most people would run. These people stayed. And what one mother did next is the reason I couldn't stop thinking about this village. If you're the rare kind who'd want to know the depths of human courage and the weight of absolute loss, keep going. The details were oddly specific. Boundary stones drilled with holes where coins were left in vinegar to buy food without human contact. Nearby merchants would leave supplies at the boundary. The vinegar acted as a primitive disinfectant, a desperate shield against the invisible killer. Daily life became a series of rituals to avoid touch. Neighbours helped from a distance, leaving wood and water at doorsteps before retreating. For the children, the village became a prison. The sounds of play were replaced by the tolling of the church bell until the bell itself fell silent. Church services were moved outdoors to stop the spread. The air was the only distance they could afford. Faith was practiced in the wind. William Mompesson would stand on the rock at Cucklet Delph, his voice carrying hope to those who were literally dying to hear it. They gathered in all weather, standing on the grass, finding solace in the words of a man who was losing his own world, piece by piece. The dead were buried not in the churchyard, but by their own families in fields, quiet, lonely sentinels of the plague, marking the land forever. No bells tolled for them. No funeral processions marched, just the sound of a shovel hitting earth and the muffled sobs of the living. Entire families were wiped out in weeks. The fields of Eyam became a vast, silent necropolis, a testament to the cost of their conviction. Elizabeth Hancock watched the plague take her husband and all 6 of her children in just 8 days. 8 days to lose everything. With no one to help, neighbours too afraid to come near, she dug every grave and buried each of them herself, alone. She buried them in a field that still holds them today. A mother's love, etched in the earth. A monument to a grief beyond words. She was left alone in a house that once rang with the voices of her children. Her survival was a miracle she likely never wanted. By the time the plague had run its course, 260 of the village's 800 inhabitants were dead. The toll was devastating. The quarantine held for over a year. A huge share of the village died, including Mompesson's own wife, Catherine. But it worked. Mompesson himself survived, though his hair had turned white with grief and the weight of the souls he had guided to the end. The plague did not spread beyond Eyam. Their sacrifice saved countless lives in the towns beyond. A miracle born of misery and unyielding resolve. The surrounding towns, including Sheffield and Bakewell, were spared the horrors that Eyam endured. The Ring of Stones had held firm. Today, millions of people live in the towns that Eyam saved. They are the living legacy of a choice made 3.5 centuries ago. Every year, Eyam commemorates its sacrifice on Plague Sunday. The story is told to each new generation, a reminder of what community truly means. The village has become a place of pilgrimage. People come to honor the ordinary heroes who did something utterly extraordinary. Those 7 graves are still there, a mother and her children, in a quiet English field 3.5 centuries later. Eyam didn't have to remember them, but it chose to. In a world that often feels divided, the story of Eyam reminds us of our shared humanity and the incredible power of a collective yes in the face of death. And that's really the whole point of this channel. Some people deserve to not be forgotten. If you agree, you know the small thing that keeps them remembered. That's all I'll ask. Stay with me, and every week I'll bring one of these stories back. Sunday, a warm winter afternoon that froze hundreds of children where they stood. Tell me below, could you have stayed? Light a candle. Stay close.